Our next guest is an acclaimed fashion illustrator whose clients include prestigious brands like Prada, Dior, Louis Vuitton, and Chanel. She's the creative force behind Candace Bushnell's Sex and the City cover art and has even done a commission for none other than Michelle Obama.
On top of all that, that's not all. She is the author of 7 best-selling books. Her latest is called Elegance, the Beauty of French Fashion. So please welcome to the show, Megan Hess.
Thanks for having me. It is so good to have you with us, but I want to go back to the very beginning and just understand how you became a fashion illustrator, because as far as your average career choice, it kind of isn't one, right? You don't think of kids going, Mom, Dad, I want to be a fashion illustrator when I grow up. So tell us about what happened.
Well, when I was a kid, like you said, I didn't even know that a fashion illustrator was a choice or something that I could do. So I was just really a kid that loved to draw, and I went through school and thought, you know, eventually I'll have to get a real job and I'll just draw on the weekends or when I really get a chance. And, you know, I left school, studied graphic design, worked in different creative agencies. And then I realized that actually illustration is something that you can do, you will get paid to do it. So I did do that and worked on a lot of, I always describe soul-destroying projects that weren't quite fashion until I got my big break when I did the cover of Sex and the City, and then my life turned upside down and everything took off. So I was very grateful for that project.
Those are pretty big brands. You talk about Prada and Chanel. When there's a process, do they tell you what to do, or do you tell them what to do, or do you work together?
Well, yeah, I mean, every project is completely different, and in any given week in my studio, I'm probably working on about 10 different projects. It might be an animation for Fendi, it might be an illustration for Cartier for Fashion Week. They're all really different, and you know, I'm Skyping all over the world because I'm in Australia, so I'm Skyping Paris to the Middle East to London to America. So it's a really crazy, busy schedule, but that's what I love.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I get it.
You gotta love it.
Okay, so we really need to talk about your work for Michelle Obama. Can you tell us, first of all, what it was and how the whole experience played out?
Well, I didn't actually get to meet her in person, but this project was something that, you know, like every woman, I admired her enormously. And when the project came up to illustrate, it was for her book, What Would Michelle Do? And I had to illustrate I got the opportunity to illustrate 10 portraits of her. And, you know, and I know, and I mean, and every background, every element of the illustrations had to be true to who she is. So even drawing her in the Oval Office, I was, you know, back and forth with her publisher, and I said, what artwork would you like on the wall? And they said, why don't you put her actual certificates and everything? And then I said, that's right. So she's obviously has a degree. What is her degree? Just so I get it right. And they said, well, she has 3. You know, and I just remember thinking, this is the most amazing opportunity to draw someone that is so iconic and is loved by everyone. So I put a lot into it and was very proud to have worked on it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we see these beautiful sketches, and like you just said, you may have 10 projects going at one time. So that's a lot of work and pressure. So then how does one like you get inspiration to actually then create these amazing pieces? Well,
I've always had the theory that if you creating beautiful images helps if you're in a beautiful space. And even in the very beginning where I worked in a tiny corner of my home, I still tried to make it look as pretty as I could so that it was inspiring. So today my studio is luckily a really lovely big space, and I've got things in there that I've collected from my travels everywhere. It's airy and white. I'm a little bit crazy. I have music. Depending on what I'm drawing, I will have music that goes with it. I'll burn a candle that feels like the right scent for it. So if it's something French, I will have Hotel Cost or something very French playing. I'll be burning a candle that's from grass. If it's something more American or more upbeat and fun, I might have Missy Elliott, or just something more, something Lizzo, something really fun. And because I think getting into the spirit of what I'm working on really helps create.
Okay, so your book, Elegance.
Yes.
I mean, there's no question that is a salute to just about everything when it comes to French fashion.
Yes.
Your illustrations are beyond. Just look at those. I mean, unbelievable. So what is it about French fashion and French women? And I've been waiting all day to say this. What's behind the je ne sais quoi?
Oh, I like the way you said that. I think
Put a lot of effort into that,
I
but you
think
take
you
it
were
away.
French in another life.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, I think there's something that even when I was young and or when I first went to France, there's something about the way French women and men carry themselves. And I always say it's not about being in a really expensive couture dress. It's even just that woman who is sitting in a cafe with a scarf tied around her neck, the way she's sitting there drinking her coffee. The French just do things beautifully, and it's just very chic. And I think it's innate to who they are and the way they live.
The fashion world has long been sort of criticized for kind of portraying one type of beauty. It's usually very tall and very thin.
Yeah.
There have been some changes made, but are you ever tempted to just like add a little extra curve to your drawings? Just kind of fill it up?
And look, and sometimes I do, and it depends on what I'm sketching. A lot of my main characters are the same characters I've been drawing since I was 5 years old, but it does change depending on the brief. And I also illustrate a lot of real people, a lot of portraits, and when I'm working on that, that's probably the most intensive time I spend on a portrait, and that will be very true to exactly how that person looks.
All right, so I'm going to be honest. I've never aspired to be a mouse. I was going to say, but you've written a series of children's books.
Yes.
Clarissa is a little mouse in France.
Yes.
And I mean, come on, that looks
She's
fabulous.
cute.
So how did you come about with this?
Well, I always wanted, as an illustrator, I always wanted to work on a children's book, but it took quite a long time to just find that character that, because books take a lot of work, I wanted to find that character that I was really passionate about. And on a trip to Paris, I saw a little mouse dart across the rooftops, and yeah, and I remember thinking, how chic to live in Paris, even if you are just a little mouse. And so, and you know,
I now aspire to be that mouse.
well, yeah. And my mind went to what would she? Where did she go? Does she have a little apartment in that roof? Does she have outfits? Is she wearing a dress like this? You know, my mind just went crazy. So that's really where it all began.
I love it. That's
Adorable.
fabulous.
It's adorable. You listen, it doesn't take a genius to know that in the fashion world there are a lot of very big personalities.
Yes.
Have you ever witnessed like a throwdown devil wears Prada moment? You can choose to name names or not.
Okay. Yeah. Look, no, I think fashion does draw a lot of really crazy, eclectic people, and you know, I always see myself as someone who's an observer as well. I'm not on the runway and I'm not a designer, but I'm watching it and I'm fascinated by it. And I often think that it's the behind the scenes things that you see that are almost more interesting than the actual show. You know, who's sitting across on front row, and do they look like they don't like each other? Are they sort of like this? And you know, I've seen some big sort of well-known people who are attending the shows, and it might be winter in, you know, Couture Week, and they will have two people behind them, one holding or hovering with a coat just in case they want it, and then a heat warmer. So someone who's carrying a warmer just to keep them warm. I'm not kidding.
Carrying a heater.
A heater. Yeah, a little heater, a little pop-up heater.
Why not? It's fashion.
Crazy.
We need to talk to somebody.
I kind of like that idea myself.
It's pretty chilly here.
Megan, you're a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
being here.
Thanks for having me.
Elegance, the beauty of French fashion is available now. And guess what, studio audience? We're sending you home with your very own copy. But wait, there's more. You're also getting a copy of Megan's latest children's book, Clarissa, Fashion Show Fiasco.